Szia, jó napot. That's it from my Hungarian language. So I'm here today to lead your way into the future by managing up. Basically, I read the title. What is it all about? Before we start, short introduction. I have to be very fast. Time is not going, just I got my free 2 minutes. Yes. So my name is Irja STRAUS. Just starting my own company. So we will see how that goes, how I will manage myself. I've been a quality advocate, but sometimes I also, but during my 15 years of career, I actually learned a lot from being in different roles. For example, I was a business analyst. I was also product manager. And also tester for the same product I was actually creating, which was really interesting experience for another presentation. And of course, tester in heart. I also like to go with exploratory tester. That's my favorite role from all of them. And for the last couple of years, I've been into management positions. And becoming a manager actually taught me a couple of things. But let me share you my story and how it all started. How I learned from my own experiences. So one day, one fine spring day, a boss's boss sent me a message. And it said, "Congratulations, company is doing a huge reorganization and you will lead a new test team." And I was like, hooray, challenge accepted. I was really thinking that I was prepared for that. But in reality, another message from my boss, which came a couple of months later, I learned after seeing this message that I was totally wrong. Because what he sent to me was something like, "Hey, can we just automate all the tests and make them green?" And my first reaction was, I will not share it on the stage, but I had some opinions about him. But the message itself is actually not problematic. It's a benign message. But I realized that we are actually not aligned, and I didn't manage him as I supposed to be doing. And this actually kind of provoked a lot of auto-observability. This is the new word I learned today. Thank you, Alex. And basically what I did, I learned that I still have a lot of things to learn. So I came here to kind of share some of the practical tips and tricks on how to manage up. But let me introduce you, let me share you why is this story actually important? What's the context we are actually dealing with? Today's context, we work a lot with agile development, so it's like a buzzword for the last 25 years. It's nothing new. So basically, all of these courses, certifications, they don't teach you how to be agile, practically, what that actually means. What should you do as a tester? What is that? They will teach you about different toolings, etc. But they don't teach you what is actually, what does it mean to be agile as a tester? And I figured that for me, it means being able to make your own decisions, good decisions, to have agency in your work and actually perform good testing. But I again have to go back a little bit in the past to give a couple of more reasons why this wasn't so obvious for me and why I was failing in managing up and understanding what should I actually do. I worked, my first company where I worked actually shaped a lot of my professional manners later. And what I noticed that I was taught wrong. I was taught completely wrong that if you talk to your boss, it means pleasing your boss, like you're sucking up or something. So you shouldn't do that ever. This was the company I was working with. And another thing I heard a lot was career progression is our manager's job. Yeah, I shouldn't take care of that at all. It's their job. Okay. But, and then the story even gets worse and complicated. I noticed another trend. It's about test managers and who they are. And I noticed that nowadays, this managerial role is quite different. Like, we rarely see companies that are promoting testers into management positions. Not rarely, but it's less common than promoting, I don't know, the lead developer. So more often, you will have a situation when you will be managed by somebody who wasn't a tester at all. And this is the truth nowadays. I actually checked some research, but I don't have time to go now into that. And also the role of a manager is less supervising, it's more collaborative. So all of that just taught me that, okay, task management as is, it's kind of fading away, it's completely different. So how should I, as a junior tester, actually work with that? What should I do? And unfortunately, I didn't learn that as a junior tester. When I learned that later, when I became a first-time manager. And let me tell you the truth, being a first-time manager is quite misleading, because you will think that my job is now to manage my team. Yay! But no, my job was actually managing up, so my team can do good work. So I failed with that a little bit, because nobody told me that secret. And then I really wished, oh, I wish I learned this before. I wish somebody told me. So I learned what actually managing up means. And basically, how can we define it is basically a skill of being aligned with people around you who are maybe your bosses, maybe even different other stakeholders, such as product managers or business analysts you work with. So this is not an official definition, but this is how I would put it in a few simple words. Okay, so today I am, because I don't, maybe some of the tips, I'm not saying you should do this at home, not everything. I just picked something from my toolbox, and I want to share it with you, because maybe we will learn something together. So let's get into it. We will have 7 practical tips or tricks, right? But let's start from the beginning. To be able to manage anybody, including our bosses, we actually have to know who they are. Like, first step is to, this sounds like an AA meeting a little bit. First step is to learn who are you dealing with. And there are many, many ways we can actually learn who are we dealing with. But first step is to know who they are. It's manager, maybe their manager, also people around them. Everybody who can help us, but also who will not help us. This is a very important thing. And I stole this actually from stakeholders management. I learned from project management. Like, imagine. And I just applied it to my own people management skills. Basically, I want to emphasize this, like how they cannot help part, because it wasn't obvious for me. It's more aligned with, you know, this saying, like, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies even closer. Something like that. Next thing was trying to, like, okay, understand, when we understand all of those personalities, like when we know who are we dealing with, we can now adapt to that. And how to do this? There are very practical ways. Like we can learn, we can read books, tra-la-la. But I learned something interesting. One exercise, it's called How to Work With Me. It's basically, it was created by Claire Hughes Jones. She was a chief operating officer in some company I just forgot. So basically what she did when she joined the company, they were working in a remote setup. And what she did, she created a simple document where she explained how people can, how she prefers to communicate, how she prefers to work. For example, do I like written communication or maybe in-person communication? Everything that can kind of help for other person to understand how to work with you. And I did this once with my boss when I also joined a new company in the remote setup. And it worked well. And even if you don't share such thing with somebody, it was a really nice auto-observability exercise. Oh my God, I'm using it too much. So there is also like, because when we learn how to work with somebody, or they learn, or they know how to work with us, we can kind of adapt and move together. We actually then move along with changes. We are not against each other because we understand each other. So that was it regarding this part. Next step on our journey was establishing a common ground. So there are many, many ways we can establish a common ground, but first thing we have to do is to kind of make sure there is time for that. So most common way of doing that, like we have one-on-ones with people in our companies nowadays. When I started working, actually we didn't had, like I didn't had one-on-one with nobody for 4 years. Something like that. It wasn't a thing. People management wasn't a thing. So I didn't know how important is to have this shared time where we can exchange lots of stuff. For example, when I joined one company, I noticed that my boss just didn't schedule any one-on-ones. So I did it. Why not? He can always cancel my meetings, but at least I will try that there is a shared time when we can work together on things. Also, what I did, I never come unprepared because I remembered career progression is actually not my boss's job. It's my job. That's my favorite project, let's say it like that, or most important project when it comes to work. So I will come prepared on that one-on-one and share what they are interested to hear about, whether this is some important progress we made on a project or something else. And I literally write it down like a list. Lists are cool. And that worked really well with majority of people. Also, in a lot of companies, we are having like some quarter goals, like some key performance indicators. What I wanted to do, I wanted to collaborate on that. So I also prepared my own goals, which I would like to work on. So I looked at myself as, again, as a project, and I did SWOT analysis. We know that, again, from project management or some business management things. It works well when you look at yourself from all of 4 angles, like strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then that helps me to kind of shape and co-create my goals. Also, another failure, which I learned, was about silence. Remember 3 monkeys? Well, 3 wise monkeys. When in this case, being like silence, it's not such a wise thing to do. And I failed with that. To remember this reorganization. Actually, what preceded before that was like 3 months of silence. And I took it as a green flag. Oh, we trust each other. But no, actually, reorganization came as a total surprise. I wasn't involved. I didn't know that my team will basically be pretty different than what I was proposing to be. So silence is not a good thing. And I had a manager who was canceling our one-on-ones for 6 months. I mean, I was really worried. Is it about me? What's going on? And I was overthinking. I went into really like bad options. But then again, I snapped out of it and I validated this with my peer. I had asked a colleague, hey, is this happening to you? And then the colleague said, yes, weird, right? And I was relieved. It wasn't about me. Again, reorganization was happening, which we found out later. So silence, not a good thing. Next thing that helps me when I manage people around me is being brave and being proud of our own successes and recognizing our value. You watch sports, I guess, some of you. Like, sports got it right. Like, every win is a win. Like, how small it is, it's still a win. And they celebrate. They're very happy. Nobody will say that, I don't know, Real Madrid won EuroLeague just by in a one-point game. Who knows that? They won 11 titles. That's it. Everybody will celebrate. But when it comes to our work, I wasn't like that. I couldn't even recognize the win. I couldn't even recognize the progress I was making. But what helped me is like start writing things down in something called brag document, which I again stole from Julia Evans. I'll have the links later in the present. So wins are wins, and I learned that progress is always better than perfection. So also, regards the brag document, it really helps me to share it with my boss. Like, it's there. It can be a simple Slack channel or whatever. Just feel it. Whenever it comes, whenever progress is made, feel it, and you will be ready for the one-on-one. Okay, moving on. Also, there are two paths of managing up. And it's very different, and it's important to know the difference. One thing is when you manage up for yourself, for your own career, or some opportunities you want to explore further. And another thing is that when you manage up for the team. To put it short, because we are a bit on time, managing up for the team is like a team activity. Everybody in the team should do it in some way. But when I'm managing up for myself or like for one particular person, I'll try to do it in a more individual path. So I will not steal the time of the team to work on somebody's career progression or my own. So it's kind of different, and it's really important to balance both. Okay, now the one I struggled the most. It's like minding our own critical thinking. As testers, we are very curious, and we also have this ability to think critically about the things we observe. And this is like a bit of dilemma in me. So I learned that being too critical with your boss is creating a gap in your relationship. So this is not something I would like to do. It took me some time. Like, I wasn't picking my own battles very well in the beginning of my career, but I learned that relationships are more important than criticizing something, even if you feel it's very important to criticize it now or being constructive about it. So understanding what's worth escalating is another great ability and skill I had to learn on my own in a hard way. And last but not the least, like asking for feedback is a great thing. Everybody can ask for a feedback. What I did, I asked for the feedback. I listened to it, at least I thought I was listening. And then I started to defend myself, to explain myself. I think I annoyed some of my bosses so much, like a lot. And I have to thank one colleague, a developer, who actually gave me a critical feedback on my greatly written acceptance criteria. And then I started to explain to him why this and that. And he told me, hey, Irja, just don't be defensive. I'm trying to help you. So that kind of put things into perspective. And I started to work on that a bit more and start to be like more active when I'm listening and also doing what I was told if I think it's right thing to do. So not to leave you with anything behind, let's wrap things up. I learned that managing up is basically a continuous effort. It's not something I will do once and then like fire and forget. Nope. It's something that we should do from early on in our careers. We should apply it very actively. And also it's kind of universal and very, very important for testers, because we are not always in a perfect situation where we have bosses who actually understand what good testing is. So for having that said, Szia, köszönöm. And I have one more thing. Actually, I owe you, sorry, one problem with managing up. The only problem with managing up I could find is actually if we completely ignore it and don't do it at all.
I can totally resonate with you, as I'm a manager in a testing world and a people manager, which is the worst, I know. But, but all in all, one golden nugget. What do you think about know the goals of your leader? Then you will be more useful in a manager. I think this was the golden nugget I would add.
That's a great one. Actually, if this talk would last 35 minutes, I would mention this, because every company has some business goals. And usually they're they're transparent, but if they are not, I ask my managers or people I collaborate with, hey, what are your goals? What are we working at? Because I want to then apply my own ideas, how, like, some initiatives that will help to achieve this goal. So that's a very good thing to know about, be aware, and do something about it if you can. Of course, you are not always in the position you can.
Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
So let's see, what do we have from the audience? How do you prepare yourself for a one-on-one with your manager without being an eager beaver? So
eager beaver, what is it? Is it like
when you are too
proactive,
too enthusiastic, and you're going there always and trying to...
Honestly, the whole my life, people are telling me that, hey, calm down. So I never had an issue with it. But yeah, that's true. I balance it. Like, maybe I will not share everything and just drop it on the table, but I'm ready. And when we start the conversation, I will share one thing and then let, of course, my manager to come with their inputs, because I want to hear that perspective. So for me, it's hard to prepare for my own personality.
That's still okay. Based on your experience, how many years of experience is the minimum to be eligible for a managerial role?
Oh, is this question like it's intuitive? I don't know, honestly. I think it takes time, because if you start too early, then you will burn out very quickly in your career. So for me, it took me 10 years to be ready, and I thought I was ready, but I wasn't. So I would say that if you take this kind of people problems too early, I don't think it's a good idea. So I would just give it a time.
Yeah, I would say 5. So in my case, it was 5 years, and it was 10 years ago. So I didn't burn out. It's still 10 years being a manager, and that's really good if you shift between teams, if you shift between tasks, and that can keep you warm. Okay, what is your approach to engage and motivate your subordinates?
Subordinates. First, I don't call them subordinates, but okay, English, it's not native for everyone, and honestly, it's okay. But that asked me, on one interview, they asked me this question, like, how will you change the negative mindset? And I was like, well, I'll share things we are like, I will share what I believe in, like, I will share what I'm doing, and I will ask them, like, hey, how is it for you? I will not, I like to create a relationship first, and then we can work, not opposite. So I try to get to know people, listen to them, and that worked well. And usually, for me, it's motivating when somebody asks me for opinion, and things get better. But sometimes you cannot do it all. Sometimes it happens.
Okay, let's check the next one. If you would divide your work into 2 parts, how much time would you say that a management role consists of coding tests? So if you would divide into 2, Like 50-50 or so how big is the management part?
I don't get the question. Like I think it depends on the like how big is your team, how big is the product you are working on. So it depends, typical answer in testing, but I never counted that. So it's hard to split the focuses if you have, once I had 14 people, so I didn't do any testing except pairing with them, and that's it, and assembling maybe. But
I think it's a topic for next talk.
I think it's total different skill set and
yeah. I have 35, so I understand.
One more.
What is something you learned, your manager, that you are most proud of? Maybe.
What is something you learned, your manager? Okay. I am most proud of. Who is proud?
Who is proud? So you are proud of. So as a manager, I guess, what did you learn?
You know what I'm proud of? When I was on the conference 2 weeks ago, like almost the whole, my whole team was there. And they sat on the talk, and later they told me, I recognized myself in this story, and you gave me life in testing, basically. Thank you for that. We don't work together for 2 years almost. They still keep that, and that's the thing I'm most proud of.
And we could finish all the questions. Thanks a lot, Irja. A nice big applause.